The Journey Begins banner features 4 characters from Fire Emblem Fates. Today we'll be looking at the stats, skills, and weapons for Forrest, Midori, Rinkah, and Lilith. We'll also be talking about some builds and general playstyles for each unit. A couple of housekeeping rules to reiterate: the free 5-star focus unit after 40 summons is enabled for this banner. You can use the 1 free summon and the 4 first summon tickets to count toward those 40 summons, which means you only need to spend orbs on 35 summons. We got a bit more info on the mechanic. The free pick will not reset the pity rate, so you say you're at 4% and you do 40 summons. After you pick your free unit, you can keep summoning at 4% pity rate. The free focus unit will also have a neutral nature, so no need to roll the Boon or Bane RNG. You may even want to merge into the neutral copy. Also enabled are the Year 3 demotes, so moving forward these guys will be in the 3 to 4 star pool and you'll no longer be pity broken by some of them. The 4-star focus unit for this banner is Forrest. Getting him at 4 stars will not reset the pity rate, and after the banner is ended, Forrest will join the 3 to 4 star pool. You may want to keep in mind what skills he has in the case you pull a random copy. As a unit, Forrest is a cavalry healer. He has 39 HP, 32 attack, 26 speed, 19 defense, and 35 resistance. With 35 base res, Forrest has the highest res for a cavalry healer and ties for second highest base res for all healers. He does come with a speed super boon, so that will get him up to 30 speed, which isn't that bad. If you're heavily investing in a merged Forrest, maybe you might want to look out for that one. Now for skills, unfortunately we don't have a lot to talk about. Forrest doesn't come with any new inheritable skills, but he does bring a couple of interesting options into the lower rarities. His staff is Panic Plus, so after combat he'll inflict the Panic status in a 2-space AoE. He has Physic Plus for his healing skill, which is the 1 ranged heal option. As a 3 movement healer, Forrest has extremely long range to heal some teammates. His special is Heavenly Light, which restores 10 HP to all allies when it procs. Physic and Heavenly Light is a pretty solid set of healing skills for any healer. For his A skill, Forrest has Fortress Res 3, largely overshadowed by Fortress Defense and Res, but it provides a nice +5 flat resistance. This skill is actually not very easy to get. It's on 2 5-star units and Camp, while Forrest was going to have it at 4 stars. This is nice since he also has Res Ploy 3 to inflict long range res debuffs if he has more res than enemies lined up with him. Res Ploy as a C skill is only on 5-star summonable units, so Forrest will be a nice way to get access to this skill. With Fortress Res 3, Forrest will already hit 40 resistance, which is solid for using Res Ploy. He'll be able to tag a lot of enemies. In terms of builds with no unique staff or weapon, you are free to run just about anything you want. Healers aren't exactly tied down to a specific build. With his high base resistance, Forrest can focus on running multiple poly debuffs, and he could run a Sabotage Beast skill if you really want. Otherwise, the usual healer skills are totally fine. Wings of Mercy, Live to Serve, any type of field buffs for teammates. You can run any staff you want, like the Pain Plus staff, and unless you want to focus on damage, then Dazzling Staff or Fine will be the safest. For higher merge Forrests, you can upgrade to Fortress Defense and Res 3, or you can run a push skill for extra damage. With a speed super boon and some merges, you could even run attack and speed push for if you really want a decently fast healer. Obviously Forrest won't be the next Brave Veronica, but with easier accessibility you can still have some fun with him. Definitely a good choice if you need a super high res healer. Our second banner unit is Midori. She is a red infantry archer with 41 HP, 41 attack, 30 speed, 34 defense, and 21 resistance. I was expecting a slower archer, but I was not expecting to see 41 base attack with an attack super boon. That is insanely high for an archer and only behind Legendary Crown. Midori's 34 defense is also quite high, but she does sacrifice her res stat, which is on the lower side. Her 30 speed is a little awkward, but it can be okay for avoiding follow-ups from other foes with average speed stats. Midori is quite the interesting unit, and her kit will involve a lot of stat talk. For old skills, she has Rally Attack and Defense Plus, a nice +6 attack and defense for her allies. She also has Cho Attack 3, which debuffs the highest attack enemy with -7 attack, something that Midori can take advantage of herself. Midori's weapon is the Spendthrift Bow Plus, and boy this is a neat weapon. It's a 12 might bow that grants +7 attack to the user and inflicts -7 attack on the enemy during combat. That is insanely strong, and this is an inheritable weapon. However, after combat, if the user attacked, inflicts special cooldown count +2 on unit. That is one nasty drawback considering how strong specials are in this game. This is still going to be a very cool weapon. In terms of effective stats, you get +7 attack, defense, and res at all times versus any enemy. That is really strong, but you have to proc your special in one single round of combat, or afterwards its cooldown goes up by +2. You pretty much have to run a low cooldown special, or you're going to need cooldown reduction. We can get around this, but it's still a pretty annoying drawback to the weapon. In terms of who can use this weapon, Midori is pretty good with her insane attack stat and good defense. Norn, who just became a 3-4 star unit, is a big ball of stats with good defense and res, and would love the extra attack to pair with her solid base speed. Then we got some archers like Valentine's Faye, who is just disgusting and gets to abuse things like Special Fighter to charge up specials fast anyway. If you can get around the special penalty, Spendthrift Bow is a pretty solid weapon. Midori introduces another cool skill. This one is called Close Foil. If sword, lance, axe, bow, dagger, or beast foe initiates combat, grant attack and defense +5 to unit during combat, and the unit gets to counterattack regardless of foe's range. This new foil A skill is going to be the physical damage version of the ward A skill we saw in New Year's. It's a close counter side grade that grants some bonus stats, but doesn't counter everything. For close foil, ranged units get to counterattack versus everything but dragon foes. However, dragons have adaptive damage against ranged units, so fighting them was already not the best course of action. I think being able to get an additional 5 attack and defense and getting to counter another 4 enemy types is still worth using this skill. I would say close foil is probably the most useful one out of the current foil and ward A skills. For playstyle and builds, Midori brings some very cool options. With Spendthrift Bow and close foil active, she hits 65 attack during the enemy phase, and will still get up to 60 attack on the player phase because 41 base attack with a 19 weight bow is pretty ridiculous. Naturally, with a middling speed stat, it seems like Midori probably wants to use quicker post and let physical damage foes attack her first. She's going to end up with 39 defense with close foil, and Spendthrift Bow has that -7 attack debuff on the enemy, which boosts both her physical and magical damage tanking. I think refining this weapon for extra resistance would be quite nice. As always with in-combat debuffs, we can stack field debuffs on top, so attack smoke would be great to combo for a -14 attack on the enemy. Chill attack does the same thing, but it's only going to hit one target. If you want to be a little more selfish, Midori can run low attack and defense. That plus Spendthrift Bow would be -10 attack at all times on the enemy, which is just hilarious, with no attack buffs to worry about. With quicker post and a 2 cooldown special, Midori can still fire for special, but ideally if you can get her something like Bravely Seena's Breath buff or Infantry Brush, you could go with a higher cooldown special. Times Pulse is an option to counteract the drawback since you can run something like Noontime. It would go on a 1 cooldown every player phase. Midori takes 1 attack and counters with Noontime to heal back up. There's a lot of possibilities on offer here. For other skill options, since Midori has a rally skill, a Ruse B skill would be great, and it debuffs can stack with Spendthrift Bow. Being able to apply guard is also always annoying. For more offensive builds, you could go mad with attack if you really wanted. Things like Mirror Impact with Death Blow would be fun on top of Spendthrift Bow's +7 attack. Midori having 41 base attack also makes a Brave Bow another obvious choice, and that of course is always fun to use. While most Midoris are probably going to stick with close foil and quicker post, I don't think getting her some extra speed is a terrible idea. 30 base speed isn't amazing, but with a speed boon and some buffs, she could be hilariously annoying. I definitely think there are a bunch of build options for Midori, and in general, the Spendthrift Bow looks like one of the most interesting inheritable weapons we've gotten in a while. She is a red archer, so she can't fight blue units as well, but with one of the highest attack stats in the game, I think she's going to be okay. Our third unit is Rinkah. In Fae, she's going to be an axe infantry unit with 40 HP, 34 attack, 39 speed, 41 defense, and 18 resistance. Good lord, another fast axe unit, and this one has the second highest defense for all axe units, which is very impressive. Rinkah definitely is focusing on physical damage brawls, and similar to Midori, her res stat is a little lacking. Her high base speed will keep her alive though, and she does come with both speed and defense super boons, which either can be a great choice. Rinkah is going to be a rather simple unit, but it's hard to argue with that much raw defense. For old skills, she has Bonfire, not surprising as that's already 20 plus damage. To make things even crazier, she has Wrath for another plus 10 damage on special trigger, and she has a few tricks to use this skill well. For her C skill, Rinkah has even defense wave, more defense buffs for herself, and that's not even the end of it. Rinkah gets her own special club. It's a 16-man weapon that accelerates specials, never a bad thing. If the foe initiates combat or if Rinkah is not at full HP at the start of combat, she gains +5 attack and defense and special cooldown charge +1 per foe's attack. This is basically a variation of Owain's Mistletoe. The enemy has to hit Rinkah to give her 2 charges. Basically, it's half a steady breath. The difference between Owain and Rinkah is that Mistletoe is always active, where Rinkah's is active on the enemy phase and only on the player phase if she has already lost HP. The trade-off being that Rinkah gets +5 attack and defense, which is pretty darn good. For her playstyle, think of the enemy pitching their attack to Rinkah and she is going to knock it out of the park with her bat. Because of accelerated specials, Bonfire is on a 2 cooldown. The enemy's attack charges Bonfire and Rinkah retaliates with it. If she falls under 75% HP, Wrath is going to trigger, adding another 10 damage on top. To add to the madness, Rinkah also has Distant Foil, exact same effect as Close Foil, it's just the melee unit version. With her focus on insane amounts of defense, Distant Foil works for Rinkah since she basically just becomes a huge physical damage wall. She can't counter against healers and mages, but she generally wants to avoid them for the most part. Just to recap, these new Ward and Foil skills, Distant Ward lets melee units counterattack against mages and healers, Distant Foil lets melee units counterattack against bows and daggers. Then you have regular distant counter, and that can fight against anybody. Ward and Foil skills do offer extra combat stats though, so even against foes the user can normally counterattack anyway, you still get something useful. If you aren't going to focus on increasing Rinkah's res stat, Distant Foil is going to be fine to keep. Rinkah should be a fun unit. As mentioned, her playstyle is a very simple enemy phase tank and spank setup, being able to instantly return big damage bonfires. With her club and distant foil active, that's an extra plus 10 attack and defense. She's gonna hit 60 attack and 51 defense with just those two skills on the enemy phase. Bonfire is going to do 25 or more damage, and then Wrath is also there for a potential 35 extra damage. With even defense wave, that's another plus 6 defense field buff, and for funsies we can add Steady Stance 3 for another plus 6 defense. 63 defense is just hilarious. Normally for a unit like this you would think, alright, either blow her up with a mage or just let her initiate combat. Well, it's not so simple because of Rinkah's 39 base speed stat. It kinda goes underused if you assume she one-shots with Bonfire, but it provides options for Rinkah to still be useful in the player phase, and you may not need quick riposte. An interesting option is to run the speed super boon with either close call or repel for their dumb 40% damage reduction. I actually don't think this is that bad of an idea because Rinkah's club only grants the special cooldown when she gets attacked. For multiple uses, she needs to survive multiple hits. Obviously with her insane amount of defense this should be easy versus physical damage, but what about mages and dragons? Rinkah could harass mages with actual distant counter, and she needs that damage reduction to tank magic damage. That is a lot of investment, but it's there if people really want to try it out. I think you could just get by with distant foil and close call, but you will need some speed increasing skills. In terms of just giving her some player phase flair, the Swift Sparrow Seal or just some speed field buffs should be fine. If you want to ditch distant foil, you got attack and speed solo or Swift Sparrow, the usual suspects. And her core Rinkah is a physical damage wall that is able to counter bows and daggers with massive damage bonfires. Her high base speed keeps her flexible and can save her against a magic damage user. She may not be as great in PvP modes due to a ton of strong mages, and you also have to be careful of units like Legendary Alm, but her retaliation damage is quite scary, so if she lives, you better watch out. Last on today's list is Lilith. She's going to be a blue flying dragon with 39 HP, 36 attack, 41 speed, 20 with 7 defense, and 30 resistance. Lilith has an attack super boon, which would give her a ridiculous 40 attack paired with 41 speed. She is very fast, and she gets even faster, but her defensive stats aren't super high. She will take damage, but her 1v1 dueling can be scary. Lilith is going to be another stat focused unit. For her old skills, she has reposition, which is nice on a flying unit. It will serve to activate defense and res link for plus 6 defense and res field buffs for Lilith and her teammate. Said teammate can then activate attack and speed bond, giving Lilith another plus 5 attack and speed during combat. Lilith will have no trouble activating all those skills thanks to her weapon, Astral Breath. This is a 16-mite Dragonstone that grants another plus 3 speed. Lilith is going to be sitting at 44 speed, good lord. Astral Breath also allows Lilith to move to a space adjacent to her support partner. As far as I know, this is global, so Lilith can literally warp to her ally at any time. She basically has permanent Wings of Mercy or escape route for that support unit. If Lilith is within 3 spaces of her support ally, she also gets plus 5 to all stats during combat. Assuming Lilith warps to her support partner, she can activate her link buff and have attack and speed bond plus Astral Breath active for tons of extra stats. How useful is this warping ability really though? Well, it can get her out of a sticky situation, and being a flyer means she can move to hazardous terrain tiles like over water or mountains. Lilith can also save her ally from danger and reposition. In terms of offensive usage, it's going to be a bit tougher to utilize. Your support partner would have to have an adjacent space open next to an enemy, so positioning is going to be key. Lilith also cannot run Gale Force, which is how I think this ability could have truly shined. Imagine she attacks, procs Gale Force, and then just flies out to safety. If you were thinking of using Lilith for some arena or Aether Raid defense team shenanigans, then unfortunately or fortunately, ally support does not work for defense teams. You have to be the one controlling Lilith to even get this warping ability. Lilith is going to get more bonuses for being near her allies. She comes with Joint Drive Attack, which is a C skill that grants +4 attack to allies within 2 spaces during combat. If the user is within 2 spaces of an ally, then they themselves also get the +4 attack boost. This is going to be an extremely popular C skill because I believe it's the first one to provide an in-combat boost for the user. Most builds don't have a required C skill, you just slot in whatever buff for your team or a debuff. However, Joint Drive Attack offers the user a way to get even more damage. It's a pure upgrade to Drive Attack, and for a unit like Lilith who is staying near a teammate anyway, it should almost always be active. This skill is going to be another fun collectible for the Reinhardt. He can now run 4 damage-oriented passive skills, which is just dumb. With the way 2020 is going, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Dire Thunder refine. Maybe that can check off a global disaster for a month. In terms of playstyle, Lilith is just a giant ball of stats. Astral Breath gives +5 to everything, and she has 3 passives that grant even more stats. Despite Lilith's insanely high attack and speed potential, I feel like she's in an odd spot. Her Flying Dragon status does not leave a lot of room for skill options, especially some of the crazy ones like Close Call. A unit that is hitting 49 speed with ease should absolutely love those skills. Not being able to run Gale Force is unfortunate, as that would have made her warping ability a ton of fun, and Distant Counter is hampered a bit because 27 base defense and arrows do not mix well for a flyer. If you can just get Lilith a 1v1 where all her skills are active, then she is strong, but some of her kit is just a bit awkward. Despite having 3 spaces to activate Astral Breath, the Bond A skill requires adjacency to an ally, so that sucks a bit. She could run a solo skill, but if she warps to the support partner, then that skill no longer works. As for B skills, the Link buff is fine, but obviously needs to be activated first, and again, B skill options are not great outside of Desperation or Vantage. I think one of Lilith's best uses is to be paired with male Corrin. His refined Yato is literally a +4 stat boost to his support partner, so it seems like an obvious choice, and it's thematic too. If Corrin is adjacent to Lilith, the ally support also gives +2 to all stats as well. I think if you do this, then running Distant Counter with Iota Shield should be okay. Let Corrin buff up Lilith even further with rallies or drives, and just let her do all the fighting. While it's an okay strategy, it kinda just makes the warping ability pointless, since if Lilith were to make an offensive move, she already used her action, so she can't warp anyway. It's not like Corrin can't do this with any other unit as well. Overall, Lilith does offer a lot of magical damage output, and she's very fast, but she needs her support allies somewhat nearby to activate her weapon. She also has a bunch of weaknesses with a good amount of green dragon killing mages, and any high attack archer will shoot her down. I don't think she's bad in a 1v1 fight, but her role on the team is a bit undefined, at least to me. Is she supposed to be a player phase monster with high speed, or is she supposed to be playing more defensively around her support partner? Maybe a mix of the two. Let me know what you think about Lilith as a unit. That's it for this banner breakdown. Coming soon, our next Grand Hero battle unit is Iago. He may be another slow red mage, but boy does he come with a very fun, unique weapon. We'll talk about him more when his Grand Hero battle is out. Share your thoughts on these new units in the comments, and good luck on your summons. I'll see you guys in the next video.